Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Omos has been one of the breakout stars of WWE. He first appeared in the unconventional role of a ninja as a part of Akira Tozawa's faction. Then he was a bouncer at the door of Raw Underground. Now he's teaming up with AJ Styles. The two were even able to win the Raw Tag Team Championships before losing the straps to RK Bro at SummerSlam. This is Wrestling Hub and we're asking the question, who is Omos? Omos, whose real name is Tolulope Jordan Amagbahin, was born in Lagos, Nigeria on May 16, 1994. He revealed on Instagram when he moved to the US. At the beginning of the decade, this 15-year-old boarded a plane to the USA with $1,000 from fans and family stuffed into my socks. With no idea of what this new country had in store for me, I took a leap of faith because I understood the enormous opportunity that awaited me. As I look back, I am grateful for all the ups and downs as they have made me the man I am today. With that being said, this new decade I am ready to conquer you. Omos also revealed he is in a relationship. There are so many things I can say about this woman right here. The list is so long I don't even know where to begin. I will say this, it is such a privilege to see you grow every day. Your selflessness doesn't go unnoticed. Your hard work, consistency, and drive has shown me what it takes to fight for something larger than you. Thank you for always giving a positive talk when I doubted myself. Thank you for loving me unconditionally. I am proud to be your man. Happy birthday, baby girl. Looking forward to celebrating many more birthdays. Before wrestling, Omos was a college basketball player from 2012 to 15. He attended Atlantic Shores Christian Academy in Chesapeake, Virginia, where he graduated. In high school, he played basketball and continued to play when he was in University of South Florida. Then he went to Morgan State University in Baltimore, where he played until 2015. In October 2018, Omos was in the WWE Performance Center with the class of Matt Riddle, Mia Yim, Chelsea Green, Daniel Vidot, Humberto Carrillo, and Damian Priest. It's safe to say that nearly every star on this list has had success in WWE. Priest is the US champion, Green and Yim were big parts of NXT, Riddle was a Raw Tag Team champion, Carrillo has also wrestled regularly on the main roster, only Daniel Vidot remains less involved, but he even has faced Sheamus in a losing effort on SmackDown. The first match for Omos was produced by Scott Hall. X-Pac revealed this on his podcast, saying, "I saw this new kid they have down there, Jordan. Big kid, about 7'4", about 440 pounds. Just a monster, and I was there for his debut match. I got to produce it, and it's just that connection. You know how it is when you connect with a guy and when he doesn't know anything and you teach him something." Being one of the tallest stars, Omos has an air of dominance. In his first bout, he was booked strongly in a handicap match at an NXT Live event in July 2019. He faced Team 3.0 of Jeffrey Parker and Matthew Menard-Lee and defeated them easily by pressing their skulls into the mat and pinning them at the same time. While the physical presence of Omos has made him an instant favorite in the eyes of Vince McMahon, his lack of in-ring skills has put his future in danger. I mean, he is probably, let me think about this, I would say with the exception of Giant Gonzalez and Giant Silva, I would say he's probably about the tallest guy modern that there's been in the last 40 years. I know Max Palmer was reputed to be, I mean, they used to bill him as 8'2", and I've heard people say he was really 7'6", but aside from that, this guy is the tallest guy I think we've ever had in wrestling, and he is really impressive looking in the sense of it's not like he is not fat or nothing, he's just a big giant guy. I know that from what I have heard from people who have watched him is that he is not that impressive when you watch him wrestle, so it's a tricky thing because it's exactly like you can do this for a while, but then where do you go because these roles usually transition to the ring and he is just, for whatever reason, he is very slow from what I was told. It's like it's really impressive him standing there, but in the matches that he has done when he was on NXT, it's not like Andre the Giant where he goes in there and everything he does gets over. They try to have him do big man spots, but people don't really go for it that much. WWE stars usually debut on the main roster after competing on a developmental brand like NXT. One star that skipped NXT was Braun Strowman when he debuted on the Raw after SummerSlam to be a part of the Wyatt family. Those were his first few matches in his wrestling life, with the exception of NXT live event matches. Omos has proven himself to be another exception and has made the jump to the main roster with him only working on NXT live events beforehand. At 7'3", Omos is one of the tallest wrestlers. The Undertaker, Braun Strowman, The Great Khali, and The Big Show come in at 6'10", 6'8", 7'1", and 7 feet tall, but none of them reach the heights of Omos. Omos is even taller than one of the tallest men in WWE, Giant Silva, who is 7'2". Omos is only the third tallest WWE Giant of all time, behind Andre the Giant, who was 7 feet 4 inches, and Giant Gonzalez, who is 8 feet tall. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were in WWE to personally work with some of the bigger wrestlers. Nash praised Omos, saying, "Spent the past week at the Performance Center and things are looking up. Big Jordan got the Outsiders crash course. He's incredibly agile and athletic and asked me to block any thoughts of us too. Amazing talent at NXT, have really enjoyed every aspect of the week. Big fan of the guy running it, think they call him Triple H. Reminds me of a Click WCW favorite, Terror Rising." Scott Hall would add, "It was great. I was in Orlando for about 8 or 9 days because I went in early. I spoke to Triple H in the past about who's training the big guys, so we had a mini big guys summit. I got to watch films with the bigger guys, have one-on-ones with some of them, get in the ring and talk about their different movesets and what they got and stuff. And I saw this new kid they have down there, Jordan. Big kid, about 7'4", about 440 pounds, just a monster. And I was there for his debut match, I got to produce it. And it's just that connection. You know how it is when you connect with a guy and when he doesn't know anything and you teach him something." Omos and AJ Styles faced Woods and Kingston for the Raw Tag Team Championship. In his first televised match, he was able to get the win in front of the WrestleMania crowd. Omos revealed in an interview with Barstool that he had to be calmed down after. "For me, it was insane. I went to college in Tampa, I went to USF. Going back there, performing on the stage, the first time I came out, the first time the Superstars came out, I was so overwhelmed with emotions that Kevin Nash saw me in the hallway and had to bring me down to earth. My emotions were so up here because I had never felt anything like that. When I got brought up, it was the Thunderdome, which was fine there. I got used to it. I didn't know the experience of being on TV and doing live shows. Once I got to Mania, that first audience interaction was insane. Then after going out with the New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, but going out there and having that match and the way the match played out, and you know me, becoming champion on my debut, I just felt goosebumps on my back. And when I went out there, I felt the whole energy of the arena come down in there. It was almost like an out-of-body experience. I could see myself and everything was so slow, it was magical." Many have been impressed by his work ethic, including Triple H, who said, "It's funny, people just see what he does on TV, so they see him the one time a week on TV or whatever. They don't see him in the gym still, at the PC. They don't see him in the ring at the PC. They don't see him training every day, still to be something special. He's putting in the effort. He just really is one of those hard-working, hard work ethic people that is putting in the effort to be really good at this. And I think he will be. You're getting to see that firsthand in Mania, that he's not just a big dude standing there. I think he's gonna shock a lot of people. He's really a sponge. He's got a bright future, just a quality person, a great guy, humble, just loves what he's doing, couldn't be happier. He's one of those success stories. When I see him, it makes me smile. He's just one of those guys and you want to see him succeed." Kofi Kingston also praised Omos in an interview with Talk Sport. "He has a surprising wise beyond his years ability to absorb knowledge. To have a WrestleMania moment so early in his career, very few people can do that. How many people can say they debuted at WrestleMania and won a title? That is an amazing thing. You set the bar really high for yourself and you have to work to exceed that. But I was really happy for him to have that moment because, like I said, he is going to be very special in terms of the big men and giants in our industry. Keep your eye on the lookout for Omos, not to mention AJ becoming a Grand Slam champion. That was pretty cool to be a part of as well." What a lot of fans may not know about Niven is that she is bisexual. In 2019, she took to social media to come out, becoming one of the only active WWE stars to do so, as Darren Young had done so previously and Sonya Deville did the same later on. Long before she became a wrestler, Niven was always a fan of the sport. At 18, she began to wrestle in the Scottish Wrestling Alliance. Soon after, she made her debut in the Japanese Wonder Ring Stardom. During her time on Insane Championship Wrestling, she became an even bigger name. In AEW 2015 saw her become the first women's world champion. She continued to train and won the women's title again and continued to dominate. Her success was not limited to ICW, as she won the Pro Wrestling Eve title and the Pro Wrestling Eve International Championship. She even ranked in at 37 in the top 50 PWI females list in 2017. In World Wonder Ring Stardom, she won the Artist of Stardom title with HZK and future NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai. She wrestled around the world before finally joining WWE. Piper signed with NXT UK in 2019 and debuted on the March 27th episode. She confronted Rhea Ripley and started a feud with her. She also made her debut on TV at the Worlds Collide event where she defeated Zelina Vega. She went on to find success on NXT UK, regularly competing against the best of the best like Toni Storm and Kaylee Ray. She was not able to win her title bout against Ray but made the effort in a Falls Count Anywhere match. She ended up continuing to compete on NXT UK and teamed with Jack Stars to defeat Jenny and Joseph Connors in the first ever NXT UK mixed tag team match. Piper only recently made a Raw debut, but after found herself receiving hate for her body on social media. Niven took the high road, saying successful big people are often met with this because we remind people of their own shortcomings. They want to believe that success is only for the perfect people, and that's why they didn't achieve their dreams and we proved them wrong. Don't ever worry about them, I don't. Gail Kim has since tweeted her support, writing, "I'm so happy for your success, Piper. You deserve it all because you've put in the time and hard work. Love your attitude and nothing but the utmost respect for you." After signing with NXT UK just months after her title match, she was diagnosed with Bell's palsy, a facial paralysis disease. A famous name in wrestling that also suffers from this is Jim Ross. Niven talked about how it has affected her. Bell's palsy is an inflammation of your facial nerve. It flames up, rubs, and cuts against a bone in your face to cause paralysis. For most, it's painless, but I was extremely unlucky. I was diagnosed on December 12th and the past few weeks have been cripplingly painful. I'm in agony almost every day. I haven't been able to eat anything. It felt like I've been punched repeatedly. Usually it takes people 9 months to recover from Bell's palsy, but Niven didn't let that keep her away from her match at TakeOver and wrestled less than 1 month after being diagnosed. She talked about how she had managed to heal quickly and claimed doctors thought she was Wolverine. But even if I still had a melted face, it wouldn't stop me. I'd wrestle with an eye patch if I have to. While Niven wrestled, she was not able to win. Piper revealed in an interview with the Sunday Post that she felt when she was a young fan she knew she wanted to be a wrestler. Despite that, she did not feel that she would be able to become one. She said it was only after she went to wrestling school that she realized she could make it. Between 97 and 99, Pearce had an on and off time working in WWE. After that was done, he was given a chance to head to WCW. One wrestler that was a major influence to Pearce, Terry Taylor, left WWE. Taylor had been one of the key reasons Pearce was able to work in WWE, and they went to WCW. Even there, his interest in Pearce did not die down. Pearce would attend the WCW power plant and was offered a developmental deal in 99. Pearce ended up declining though. This would not be the only time that Pearce declined an offer to sign with WCW, as another chance came in 2000, as he had this to say about it. "I just wasn't mature enough to pack up and move to Atlanta. Plus, I was engaged, and the family of my bride-to-be, who I didn't end up marrying, was against the idea of their daughter moving from Chicago to Atlanta with some punk wrestler kid. It wasn't the right time, so I declined politely." Pearce may be famous for his wrestling career and his work in WWE since 2014, but he had a football career that was cut short by injury when he got into wrestling. He was a Green Bay Packers fan and growing up in Chicago was getting ready to play college ball, but unfortunately in his senior year he had an injury that caused him to retire. "I would have horrible pains in my legs after practice. I would need to sit down and be off my feet, sometimes for close to an hour, before I could walk comfortably." Pearce had to go through extensive testing, after which he was diagnosed with a rare acute muscular compartment syndrome. During this time, apparently while the muscles in his calf were growing, showing the area surrounding them were not. He had to undergo surgery, as otherwise he would have to lose his legs. At that time for him, this was the biggest loss, as he thought his life was over. Thankfully, after watching a wrestling show on cable, Pearce got the chance to ask pro wrestlers questions, and there he was able to find his place in wrestling. I called in and started asking these guys questions. A couple of months later, after I was back on my feet, they said they had a school and I should check it out. That was that. Pearce would start wrestling under Sonny Rogers and Randy Ritchie, then went on to have his debut match in '96. Adam Pearce may have never had long and successful runs in either WCW or WWE, yet had one of the longest runs of his career in Ring of Honor. Pearce made his ROH debut in September of '05 working alongside Jim Cornette. Unfortunately, Pearce grew unhappy as he never managed to get title shots or top opponents, so he joined Combat Zone Wrestling. Following his runs in CZW, Pearce got much better matches and got to wrestle against Samoa Joe, Eddie Edwards, Daniel Bryan, and Homicide. Soon enough, he became the head booker for Ring of Honor in '08. Even after while he wrestled in ROH, he was more of a backstage figure. This role lasted for 2 years, after which he was replaced in 2010, with Pearce and Ring of Honor having creative differences. The most success Pearce received through wrestling was how well he did when it came to the NWA. He first got the chance to wrestle for them in '06, and after a year of competing, Pearce won the World's Heavyweight title from Brent Albright in '07. This was a title that had been held by the best of the best, and holding it gave Pearce a huge boost, with him having this to say about the NWA. "I understand the argument that when Crockett sold to Ted Turner, it was the end of the NWA. In reality, it was not, but on the mainstream level it was. It continued to exist and helped a lot of people, including me." Pearce found success with the title, winning it 5 different times. Throughout his reigns, Pearce would travel globally to defend it. Pearce also wrestled in Impact at different times. During the last year of his in-ring career, he was a guest coach in WWE, even working as a producer before his retirement match. First spotted and becoming famous for his looks in 2015, Brock Lesnar's lookalike Parker Boudreaux has had more than 70 offers waiting for him, where he was scouted by top football programs in the US, including Oklahoma, Mississippi, Auburn, Florida, and Clemson. He played prep ball in Florida and had some of the biggest offers from several colleges. Back in 2015, he commented on being compared to Lesnar, saying, "I'll probably get that one every day. I'll get Drago from Rocky, I'll get Bosworth, everybody has something. It's pretty funny." Boudreaux looks a ton like Lesnar, standing at 6'4", weighing 295 pounds, and is an offensive lineman with a mean streak. Now WWE assigned the Lesnar lookalike after years of keeping a watch on him. His stats in football were impressive to say the least. Before he signed with UCF, he spent a year as a redshirt in Notre Dame instead. In high school, he was a Max Preps first team All-American, and in UCF played 12 games and 13 games respectively between 2018 and 19. Towards the beginning of 2021, the UCF Knights offensive lineman was 22 and on Twitter was trending as more found out about him. He even described himself as the next big thing on social media handles, a moniker made famous by Lesnar. A while back, Paul Heyman noticed Boudreaux's tweet where he was showing off his physique. Paul said Boudreaux would have a huge year in 2021, and as a result, he gained more exposure. Parker was asked about the comparisons to Lesnar and said, "Lesnar is a tremendous athlete, and while I do take it as a compliment to be told we look alike, I look forward to people getting to see my own unique identity and character in pro wrestling. I'm one of a kind, the next big thing." With that, fans have said they would love to see Boudreaux face Lesnar. Given it was Heyman who noticed him, this could be on the cards. According to the Wrestling Observer, Parker signed a WWE developmental deal and did a publicity photo of him at a Royal Rumble party watching with Eva Marie. He has also attracted the attention of Jim Ross, who said he hoped to see him in AEW. Boudreaux reacted to reports of signing with WWE with emojis of his eyes, as Matt Riddle responded, "Hey, looks just like Lesnar but younger, doesn't hate me enough to refuse a match with me yet, awesome." Boudreaux has been posting pics and videos while working out, and it's safe to say he looks more than capable of holding his own, stating he was over 300 pounds with a height of 6'4". Before WWE, she wrestled simply as Storm. She then has taken on the name Toni Storm. Her real name, however, is Toni Russell. Her career has seen her wrestle across the world, and despite being young, she has more experience than many. Toni was born in New Zealand, but she would move to Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia at 4 years old. Storm comes from a broken family as her parents separated, leading to her move to Australia. Born on October 19, 1995, she is about to turn 26, with her being a promising young talent. While living with her mother on the Gold Coast, Toni discovered WWE. Much like many children her age, she wanted to wrestle. Unlike many other children, she would soon become involved in the business. Many wait until they are 18 before they begin to wrestle. However, under the ring name Storm, Toni began to train at Impact Pro Wrestling's Australian affiliate before the age of 13. At 13, she made her debut. It should be noted that Australian Impact Pro Wrestling is not an associate of Impact Wrestling. The company allowed aspiring wrestlers to start training from the age of 12. She spent most of these years not only training but wrestling men. Talking about her time back then, Toni remembered it fondly, saying, "For a long time I was the only girl and it kind of felt like I had these big brothers beating me up. My first 2 years was mainly intergender wrestling. I think I wrestled about 3 girls. There wasn't much." Toni's mom would support her completely. During an interview with ESPN, Toni talked about the trouble her mother went through to support her dream. "She would pay my fee by selling hot dogs at these shows that they would run. I wrestled in a little shed. I wrestled in front of moms and dads. It was borderline backyarding, but it was still a company. I got started then, and it was ridiculous and a silly age to start, but I'm glad I did it because now I have all of this experience and that helps." Over the next 5 years, Storm continued to hone her skills and wrestled all over Australia, gaining a lot of experience before she was even 18. At a young age, she started wrestling in hardcore matches. With her getting hurt in these bouts, Toni realized this was not conducive to having a long career. It was mainly matches, but when I was 14 or 15, I did loads of hardcore matches. I wrestled with the guys most of the time because there weren't many girls. Street signs, chairs, all kinds of crazy stuff. Then I got older and realized I need to kind of save my body if I'm going to be doing this for a long time, so I stopped doing all that. But there was a time when I was growing up when I would do hardcore and death matches. At 18, Toni managed to convince her mother to let her move to England. Upon moving, she started to live with her grandmother in Liverpool. Then she started to train with Dean Allmark and only improved from there. She wrestled not only in the UK but all over Europe. She worked in a WWE tryout camp in 2014 as well during the Australian tour in Melbourne, and was a part of the tryout camp in the UK in 2015. While Storm's career started off with intergender wrestling, she continued to wrestle in these matches. One of the most notable was against Timothy Thatcher in New Orleans. It was one of the hardest matches of my entire life. He didn't go easy on me, and he's the nicest person I've ever met. He's such a gentleman. He'll take his hat off when he says hello to you. He's the loveliest, sweetest person, but he didn't go easy on me whatsoever, which I appreciated. I still do intergender matches occasionally. I love doing them, but now it's mostly girls. Storm has also got a very intense and hard-hitting style. Toni revealed that she found her inspiration in Japanese wrestling and talked about how Satomura and others inspired her. Women have done that kind of stuff for years all over the world. You only need to watch the Japanese wrestling to know how brutal it is and see that women can follow the guys. It's fine, we're just as brutal sometimes. You only need to watch a Satomura match to know how physical and how brutal it is. Women have been doing that for years, and now finally people are going to start seeing how we're tougher than the guys. Given her inspiration from Japanese wrestling, it's not surprising that Storm experienced a lot of success in Japan. While there, she received an enormous push in the world of Stardom, winning the SWA World title in 2016 and then became the first to win the 5-star GP in 2017, as well as the Cinderella tournament. On top of that, she won the World of Stardom Championship, which was the top title in the company, and held it for 258 days. Despite her success, she had to work her way up the roster and had a tough time getting acclimated to Japanese culture. Trying to translate the most basic things sometimes can be an all-day thing. Sometimes when the referee is trying to communicate to you, they try their best and you try your best. What I like to do is when I'm on the same tour as the other foreigners, if I can be ringside, I do, because if anything goes wrong and you're having trouble communicating to the ref, it's always good if there's another foreigner to help translate. Japan's very big on seconds being there with the water and the cool spray anyway, so I always like to make sure I'm there ringside and ask if they can be for me, because you don't want to have a broken neck and next thing you're trying to tell the ref what happened, but you can't. It's hard, but at the same time, sometimes not knowing what's going on is nicer. As mentioned, Toni tried out for WWE twice before getting signed. She ended up failing to be signed in 2014 and 15, but would not have to wait long as she was signed during the first Mae Young Classic. Progress was one of the biggest indie promotions to rise up in the mid-2010s. She was a part of the promotion and was crowned the first women's champion in a triple threat match against Jinny and Laura Di Matteo. She earned her way into the title bout going through the first women's natural progression tournament where wrestlers like Tegan Nox, Chakra, and B. Priestley competed. Upon winning the belt, Storm took the natural position as the face of Progress women's wrestling division before going with WWE. In 2017, Toni was announced as a part of the first Mae Young Classic. Unfortunately, although she won in the first few stages, she was eliminated in the semifinals by Kairi Sane. Talking about the experience, Storm said how much it meant to her. That was nerve-wracking. I was out doing all the tapings, all the interviews, and getting ready for it for about 10 days in Orlando. It was just 10 days of nerves. I was terrified. It was so nerve-wracking because it's WWE, it's the top place, it's where I've always wanted to be. I nearly had a heart attack. The next year in the 2018 Mae Young Classic, she was able to win and defeat Io Shirai in the final. On NXT UK, Toni Storm lost to Rhea Ripley in a match that was meant to determine the first NXT UK Women's Champ. Unfortunately for Storm, Ripley won and became the inaugural champion. She would not have to wait long, however. 4 months later in January, Toni Storm defeated Ripley to become Women's Champ, before losing to Kaylee Ray after a 231-day reign. Even though she was on NXT UK and Women's Champion, Toni was allowed to wrestle for other promotions, competing against ICW's Kaylee Ray and wrestling in WXW Stardom and Progress. Toni Storm came out as bisexual on NXT's Instagram story as a part of Pride Month, with her saying, "So when it was announced I would be taking over the Instagram for Pride Month, I noticed a lot of people were like, Toni, are you just ally? Are you in the community? What's going on here?" Well, I guess now is a good time to say both. I'm an ally, and I cannot exactly say that I'm straight. I'm bi, and it feels good to say, and it's something I've been comfortable with for a long time. I just never really expressed it. I don't know, I just never really found the right time, and it's Pride Month and I'm on your Instagram, so now's a good time, I guess. Storm was on Lillian Garcia's podcast talking about how she was a fan growing up, but unfortunately her popularity came with her suffering from various issues. She suffered a hack and private mediaverse was leaked, which caused her to delete all her social media. I just shut down because I noticed stuff that had leaked because I was already kind of in a bad place mentally. I always really struggled with depression and anxiety. I've never really spoken out about it. I don't know why. There's not really any reason for it. I'm not sure why I suffer from it, but a lot happened growing up where I lost my grandfather and there was a lot of drama with my family. She had a history with mental health issues, issues, so the leaks brought all that to the forefront. At 16, I was diagnosed with anxiety. When all that came about, I was already struggling. I was like, I don't want to know about any of this. I didn't want to face it, so one day I was like, the hell with this. I didn't want to be seen, I really didn't, because I was completely humiliated and ashamed. It was awful, and I didn't even know who to turn to. It's safe to say that Rick Boogs is not his real name. His real name is Eric Bugenhagen. The superstars performed under the name Rick Boogs and Joseph Average. He was born in Franklin, Wisconsin, and is 6 feet 1 inch tall and 233 pounds. From an early age, he was interested in wrestling and would start to train in what would become his future career. According to the superstar, he started to train when he was 12 or 13. Boogs followed in the footsteps of his older brother, who was a wrestler. I was in 7th grade, so I must have started when I was 12 or 13 or around then. I started because my brother wrestled his freshman year of high school, and I always just kind of followed in his footsteps with what he did. Since he did it, I thought I might as well start to do it too. I have one older brother and he doesn't wrestle anymore. Boogs talked about how he and his brother didn't really have any competition between them, as his brother was in medical school. He mentioned that his brother and he still wrestled when he was an amateur over the summer to train with each other. In high school, he was able to become a wrestling champion twice. Boogs then attended the University of Wisconsin. There he studied kinesiology and history, and was a part of the Badgers wrestling team. He went on to serve as the strength and conditioning coach in 2012. He found a lot of success as a heavyweight wrestler and was ranked among the top 10 in the US in 2012. He was also a 4-year letter winner in college. For a while in his career, he was even a powerlifter and bodybuilder. Boogs was a part of WWE and Evolve when he decided to step away from amateur wrestling. In 2017, WWE signed him after he had a tryout in February. He was a lifelong fan and worked hard to manage to get the tryout. A year before he would be a part of the Performance Center, he asked publicly on Instagram what it would take for him to be a part of WWE and to get a tryout, tagging Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. "What will it take for me to get an official tryout? I'm a former Division I wrestler who was ranked top 10 in the country in 2011. I was a Greco-Roman state champ, so I know how to throw bodies. I'm over 6'1", 240 pounds, and I possess a contagious intensity that is unmatched by any other." He finally got the tryout that he wanted and wrestled on NXT regularly, and was immensely over with the audience. He appeared on NXT TV for the last time in 2019, following which he continued to wrestle on live events. He disappeared completely after the pandemic started, then showed up at Fastlane before he finally started to appear on the main roster. While a lot of fans may not be aware, Boogs has been on the main roster previously. He appeared at the 2021 Fastlane pay-per-view as a part of vignettes with R-Truth. Boogs featured in a backstage segment where he was seemingly working on representing Old Spice. He was trying to sell Old Spice to anyone who would listen. During the segment, Tozawa interrupted and ended up accosting him, asking if he knew where R-Truth was and where the 24/7 title was. Truth turned out to be hiding behind a pile of Old Spice bottles, and he fell forward. Boogs took immediate advantage. He was known as Joseph Average in that character and decided to bend down and pin Truth to become champion. Unfortunately, he could not retain the title. Instead, Truth took advantage to take the title back from him in a matter of seconds. Brennan Marcel Williams is the real name of Retribution's Mace. He took the name Mace only when he joined the group, but when he first began his pro wrestling career, he was known as Marcellus Black. In WWE, he was given the name Dio Madden, the name he is most famous for before getting the unfortunate moniker he currently holds. In his own life, he is married to a woman named Kiara, and they have 3 children. His brother Cam was once a linebacker for Ohio State and is a scout for the New England Patriots. Much like his former Retribution compatriot T-Bar, Mace is extremely tall at 6 feet 7 inches. He weighs 286 pounds, being one of the bigger WWE stars. He is second in height to a few current stars like Omos, but his physique and height have added to his ability and credence. While fans are yet to see him in any proper feud, it seems the time could be coming. The 30-year-old Mace was an NFL player before he came to the world of wrestling. He was always seen to be a natural athlete even when he was younger. He played high school football at Catholic Memorial School. There he was seen as one of the nation's best offensive tackles. He played for the North Carolina Tar Heels team for 3 years. He was picked by the Houston Texans during the 2013 NFL Draft as it looked like nothing could stop him. Unfortunately, he never played regularly thanks to injury. He had a microfracture surgery on his knee and would be released in 2014. The rest of his NFL career did not work out in his favor. He was signed by the Jacksonville Jaguars but was released less than a year later. In October 2015, he was signed by the New England Patriots, where he was a part of the practice squad lasting 2 days there. The failure he went through in the NFL only spurred him on further to take the next step. He started to train to become a professional wrestler. In October 2015, he began training under Booker T at the Reality of Wrestling School. His style and look was very similar to that of Booker, showing that the WWE Hall of Famer had been a big influence. Soon enough, he was making his in-ring debut in 2016. There he was making a mark and starting to impress fans as Marcellus Black. Following his February 2016 debut in the ring, he got a WWE tryout. In a few more months, WWE announced his signing and he started to train in the Performance Center, soon making his NXT debut in a battle royal at a live event. It took some time for Marcellus Black to become Dio Madden, but when he did, it was a big day. In June 2019, he got the name, and soon after he replaced Nigel McGuinness on the 205 Live commentary table. Later, he became a main roster commentator for Raw, joining Vic Joseph and Jerry Lawler, with Dio getting praised for his commentating during that time. Unfortunately for Dio, his time on the Raw commentary desk did not end in the best way. He was sent back to NXT. He was supposed to train and get back into wrestling, but his time ended in November 2019. On TV, his absence was explained when Brock Lesnar approached the commentary desk to attack the commentators. Dio Madden stepped up for his fellow commentators and stood face to face with Lesnar. Brock had been threatening Jerry Lawler, and Madden decided to not stand by and let it happen. Lesnar did not enjoy his attitude and decided to hit him with an F5 through the announce table. The next time fans saw him, he was back on NXT honing his craft. He would not be seen on the main roster until much later as Mace of Retribution. Other than his sudden appearance as Mace on the main roster, little is known about Dio Madden. In his personal life, he has a lot of hobbies, with him being a fan of Japanese anime and manga. He considers himself to be a geek, aka an otaku in Japanese. He has a varied interest in different series such as JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, Fist of the North Star, and more. Madden also loves video games. Growing up, Mace was into wrestling as a huge fan of Eddie Guerrero and the Great Muta. He talked about how their careers helped him to make the decision to pursue his own. As seen previously, he is very taken with the same style and look that Booker T had during his wrestling days. T-Bar, formerly known as Dominik Dijakovic while working on NXT, is really Christopher James Dijak. At 34, T-Bar has already had several in-ring names as he began his career with the name Donovan Dijak before NXT, where he became Dominik Dijakovic. Since then, his call up to the main roster has seen his career taking a sharp left turn where he has become T-Bar. But what does his new name stand for? When he made his main roster debut with the name T-Bar, Dijakovic's fans were dismayed. Soon that anger disappeared, only to be replaced with memes and humor, as fans found the names of all the Retribution members to be ridiculous. While the other wrestlers bore it, T-Bar, who was very vocal on social media from the first day that he made his way into the main roster, used the meme to promote the rights of others. He tweeted about what his name meant. The T in T-Bar stands for trans rights, and the B in T-Bar stands for Black Lives Matter. Retribution broke up after weeks of Ali belittling his teammates for things they were simply not at fault for. If any member lost a match, they were insulted. If Ali lost a match, it was still Retribution at fault. While Mia Yim and Slapjack walked away, T-Bar and Mace hit him with a double chokeslam, effectively ending his time as head of the faction and ending Retribution altogether. It seems WWE will slowly work away from the T-Bar character until he embraces his old persona from NXT. T-Bar is the same height as Hulk Hogan in his prime at 6 feet 7 inches, weighs 270 pounds, and has maintained a toned physique. Despite his height, T-Bar is extremely athletic and more than capable in the ring. T-Bar attended Lunenburg High School in Massachusetts. He was amazing in football and recruited by many of the top New England colleges. He was so good at sports he was named the 2005 Sentinel and Enterprise Male Scholar Athlete. He eventually went to UMass Minutemen to play college football. He went on to transfer to Bridgewater State University where he played football and basketball. He earned all league honors in both and was picked in his senior season for NCAA Division III football. T-Bar also has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Bridgewater. Before wrestling, he was working 3 jobs at the same time to make sure he could survive. He worked in the retail industry like many. He even worked on a farm at some point. Given his stature, he used to be a security guard, then ended up selling dog food before wrestling found him. After having wrestled twice to start off with, T-Bar joined Chaotic Wrestling training under Todd Hansen. Being there for 4 years, he won the heavyweight title and held it for 148 days. He also teamed with Mickey Webb as the American Destroyers and won the tag belts and was even the New England champion. Before WWE, he worked for Ring of Honor while simultaneously working for Chaotic Wrestling. He wrestled in Ring of Honor for 3 years, seen as one of the biggest stars. He didn't manage to win a title there, but won the Top Prospect tournament and even wrestled a lot of the top stars in the company. He was always destined for great things and was snapped up eventually by WWE. She was born Demi Bennett in Adelaide, South Australia in 1996. She's currently staying in Orlando, Florida. Being champion at 24, it's safe to say she has a long road ahead in WWE. Rhea stands at 5 feet 7 inches tall, towering over the competition. By her entrance theme, you would think that Rhea Ripley's a fan of metal and rock music, and you'd be right. She has revealed previously that the music is the source of her abilities, and she picked this song because it was exactly what she needed heading to the ring. She once mentioned how she had always been a fan of this genre, as it helps her to focus. I remember being in art class and sitting there with my headphones drawing, listening to Suicide Silence and headbanging. I'd start opening mouth like I was screaming. My friends started recording me like, what is she doing? And I still listen to a bunch of the bands from high school. Like, I haven't ventured too far away from that. Rhea Ripley is a WWE star and undoubtedly one of the most athletic on the roster. When she was younger, she excelled in many sports like football, netball, rugby, swimming, and karate, with martial arts helping as a child. When the Raw Women's Champion was just a kid, she was bullied. With thoughts of suicide and self-harm, Rhea said this in regards to overcoming her struggles. I still feel myself slipping there from time to time. I found that if I do look at the scars that I have from that time, it helps to remind myself that I've been through all of this. I was able to overcome it. That's special in the way that I know I can keep going and doing what I love. The people in my life that are going to help me overcome whatever I need at that point. I have fans there for me. I'm legitimately working the job I dreamed about since being a child, and I have to remember that sometimes. Added that the fact that her own family questioned her decision to enter WWE and calling her silly for it, it's clear that her path to becoming champion had many roadblocks. Ripley has been in WWE for around 4 years but has already made history. She was the first UK Women's Champion, then became NXT Women's Champion, becoming the first to win both belts. She's even entered 2 Royal Rumbles and of course is Raw Women's Champion. Ripley's metal and goth look is one that's still comparatively new for the superstar. Before she had longer hair and normal ring gear, she wanted to make sure she was differentiating herself from other wrestlers. She was especially connected often to her friend Toni Storm, and the two looked a lot like each other. The change in her look allowed her to change up her whole appearance in the ring, which has made her stand out. She remains one of the most easily identifiable WWE stars. Rhea Ripley may be young and doing a lot in her professional life, but that does not mean she is ignoring her personal life. In fact, Rhea is currently in a relationship with fellow wrestler Dimitri Action Jackson. She confirmed that she was in a relationship publicly in October 2019 and called him the one who kept her sane. Jackson is a wrestler of Puerto Rican descent, with the two meeting at a gym when they were still new to the business. Jackson competed in WWE and appeared on AEW Dark. He is still exploring his career and might also have a bright future in front of him. The two worked behind the scenes, where he and Rhea worked together watching matches and break them down. Rhea wanted him to succeed and was helping him to get where he needed to get that breakthrough moment in his own wrestling career as well. The two were open about their relationship and they shared their life on social media. Unfortunately, this has seen Dimitri get hate from some of Rhea's apparent fans who were racist about him. Rhea shot back at those comments, deleting the comments in question and addressing the hate on her social media. Exposed: I've deleted many comments and blocked many people over the time Kevin and I have started dating. These are some stragglers that I've just found. Later made it official by marrying the year after. The two walked out together for Bianca's long-due graduation ceremony of 2019 during the same event where Montez graduated. Belair later admitted with Lillian Garcia she always had a crush on Ford. I remember seeing him and thinking, I have friends here and they could be witnesses. Wow, that's a beautiful man. I had an immediate crush on him. He got hurt for a while and he disappeared. For a couple months when I first started, it was an immediate connection. We've been inseparable ever since. We got married and it's crazy because we come from two completely different sides of the world. He was a Marine, he was in the military. I was just living life and going to college and working in Atlanta. If it hadn't been for WWE and coming into wrestling, I found my husband through wrestling, and wrestling has brought me so much joy in my husband and this career that I can't imagine doing anything else. I'm blessed. She spent several years on NXT and was always competing for the top prize, coming up short against Shayna Baszler and Rhea Ripley. She came to the main roster, won the Women's Royal Rumble, and set the record for most women eliminated during her first appearance. In the 2020 Rumble, a year before she would even win the event, she eliminated 8, tied with Baszler, who got 8 eliminations in the same match. Bianca is not only capable in the ring, but is talented in her personal life. She's had a flair for standing out, and her in-ring attire has often been praised. Most female wrestlers take their outfits to WWE seamstresses to get them stitched, but Bianca makes her own attire. She has an Instagram page called Nicole Allen Shop, where she makes dresses and attires for other stars. The shop is owned by Belair and Ford, and she makes jewelry, bags, and custom-made children's clothes.